Hello and welcome to another edition of the Fifth Quarter. I'm Mike Ciarochi, sports editor of the Herald-Standard, and I'm joined as always by George Von Benko, author of Memory Lane and a WMBS radio personality. George, I think it's only fitting that we start this show by giving a special shout out to a couple of new followers that you alerted me to. Tom and Dave Holliday, Uniontown natives, out in the real world, checking us out on the internet. Hi, guys.
Another indication that they have too much time on their hands.
Yeah, really. Nothing to do. Yeah. But after mentioning those two baseball guys, I should remind everybody we're here to talk about football. Pittsburgh Steelers football. This Sunday, the Steelers travel to Huston, Texas to take on the 2-1 Huston Texans.
And it's a team that they don't see that often. They played them in the past, but a lot of good things being written about the Texans coming into the season. They made some changes. Gary Kubiak is the coach there. McNair has spent some money, and they've gotten off to a 2-1 start. Very easily could have been 3-0 because they were right in the thick of things with New Orleans until Drew Brees put on one of his patented fourth quarter shows.
Yeah. The teams have met 3 times in the past. The Steelers are on a modest 2-game winning streak.
And we remember the one loss.
Everyone remembers the one was because I think the Steelers inexplicably, they gave up less than 100 yards. I remember.
Oh, they controlled the whole ball game.
There were turnovers left and right. Tony Maddox, I believe, was the quarterback, and they had at least 2 touchdowns scored directly off of turnovers, and it was just a bad game from start to finish from the Steelers. Except they did put up some numbers, but. It was the expansion year. It was the first year.
And it was a huge upset, and the Tommy gun jammed.
Yes, it did. I don't think anyone would be surprised or shocked if the Texans managed to get a win in this particular ball game.
No, this is going to be a tough test for Pittsburgh, especially with what's going on the offensive line. We had speculated, as everybody else did, that they might venture forth and finally get maybe Flozell Adams or somebody. That is not going to happen.
No.
Mike Tomlin made it clear that they're looking for practice bodies, so that means they'll go with the status quo. And the offensive line may look an awful lot like it did against the Indianapolis Colts, depending on what happens with Jonathan Scott.
Right. Jonathan Scott is probably the only wild card in the mix. If he is unable to go with an ankle injury, the starter would be Trey Essex, who has been here, done that.
Yes,
for the Steelers.
So I realize everybody is probably shaking their head about it, but they've gone with these guys before, and
gone pretty far with these guys.
They've gone pretty far with them. Who would have thought they would have won the Super Bowl that one year with some of these guys?
Right.
And they came close last year, but Sean Kugler does a great job with the offensive line. So it is what it is. I was interested. I guess there's a little bit of back and forth with Mendenhall and whether some of it's Mendenhall dancing or whether there actually were holes for him to run through. But that's been going on as long as Richard's been running the football for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I think the jury's still out really in terms of how comfortable the Steelers are with Richard as the starter. They talk all they want about Mewelde Moore being the third down guy and the 2-minute offense running back and what he brings to the table, and that's all true and it's all well and good. But I think Richard Mendenhall and Isaac Redman, his immediate backup, they showed in training camp that they are able to do it all. I think they're kind of a 1 and 1A. Richard has to start producing. There's no doubt.
The running game until Mewelde Moore came in late in that ballgame, it was pretty much non-existent. I think we gave the stats. He had the 115-yard run, and then after that, it was 17 yards.
Yeah.
That's not getting it done.
No. And you know what? The Huston Texans defense is quite a formidable unit. Mario Williams, of course, the guy who's probably as famous for being the number 1 draft choice selected over Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush.
Yeah, Reggie Bush ended up going to the Saints after that. D'Amico Ryan's another quality linebacker. Brian Cushing, quality linebacker.
I like Antonio Smith. He's got 3 sacks at defensive end. The defensive backfield is okay. It's not anything that I think the biggest change is, last year they were the worst defense in the National Football League. The big change is Wade Phillips.
Yeah, right. The former Cowboys coach and coordinator. He's coordinating the defense now in Houston. They brought in the one key acquisition I think that they brought in the secondary was Jonathan Joseph, came over from the Bengals. He's a quality cornerback, I think.
I think he is too. And once again, we get back to the Steelers have to start producing better on offense. I mean, they jumped out to that lead, and then they did nothing for quite a bit after that,
except turn the ball over.
Except turn the ball over, they've got to take a little bit of pressure off their defense.
Right. Exactly.
I really believe that because the turnovers are putting the defense in a terrible position.
Right. And Mike Tomlin was asked at his press conference earlier in the week, is it problematic for a team to sit and wait for a defense to make a play, as the Steelers did last week? They got the big sack turnover and touchdown play from James Harrison, and it was cashed in by Troy Polamalu.
Yeah, after Harrison knocked it away.
But is it risky? Again, it was what Tomlin was asked. Is it risky for a team to wait and anticipate and basically need those types of plays?
Oh, you're playing Russian roulette with that.
Yeah, right.
Because that's not going to happen. We saw it didn't happen the first two games.
Right.
And this week they have a challenge to defense because I'm going to look forward to the matchup between Andre Johnson and Ike Taylor.
Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting matchup.
Yeah.
And Ike's done a pretty good job against some pretty good receivers.
Right.
But this guy is good.
He's probably, depending on who you're asking, he's the best wide receiver in football.
And they've got Matt Schaub at quarterback, and everybody's saying, Matt who? And I'm telling you right now, you've got that first tier with Roethlisberger and Brady and Breeze and some of those guys. This guy's on the second tier.
He is. I'll tell you what he does. He puts up big numbers. Fantasy football people love a guy like Matt Schaub. Throws for over 300 a week, and he's a very accurate passer. He has a legitimate weapon, not only in Andre Johnson, but the tight ends are outstanding. In Daniels, Joel Dreesen, and even their fullback James Casey got in the end zone last week. He's a pretty reliable receiver.
And they've got some good running backs.
Right. Oh, they're 4 deep at running back.
Yeah, they got the NFL's leading rusher last year. And Foster,
Arian Foster's coming back.
I got a kick out of listening to some of the Houston people. They're calling it the ongoing saga of Arian Foster with the hamstring. Because he sat out last week. They decided to give him a rest against New Orleans and hoped that he was going to be healthy. But
he missed the opener as well.
He missed the opener as well. And this has been something that's been going on. And the way they're talking, it may go on throughout the entire season. But when he's halfway healthy, he's a pretty good running back.
Oh, yeah. This just in. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
And the backup, Ben Tate, got a lot of action last week.
He's got 301 yards, 4.6 yards a carry. That's not a bad average.
Right, not bad at all. Former WVU guy Steve Slayton is listed as number 4 on the depth chart behind Derek Ward, who's been around. We know he played for one of the New York teams. George and I were debating whether it was the Jets or the Giants. I think the Jets. George says the Giants, but one of those.
He was in the Big Apple.
He was in the Big Apple.
He was in the Big Apple.
He'll go to the bank with that one.
It'll be interesting to see, how they approach this. Now, the other big factor everybody's talking about. The last time the Steelers went down to Houston, it was a very, very hot day, and they left the roof open.
The roof, yeah.
In an effort to try and sweat it out of the Steelers. The weather forecast is for 82 to 84 down in Houston. They call that a very, very nice day. And you can expect the roof at Reliance Stadium possibly to be open.
But I wonder if they are going to wear their typical home blues, or if they're going to wear the light jerseys and make the Steelers wear the dark.
Well, that'll be an interesting thing something to watch for right at the beginning. But it boils down once again that this is going to be a tough test down in Houston. But the Steelers have to take care of their own house. You can't worry about the Texans. You got to do what you can against them. But if you perform the way that you are capable of performing offensively, then you've got a very good shot at winning. And we haven't seen the Steelers perform that way this season.
No, you can't. They can't afford any turnovers. It is a hostile environment, as Mike Tomlin would say. It's an AFC road game, which they got their first AFC road win last week in Indy. you know, you hate to say they need to play perfect football, but they can't play stupid football. They cannot be giving the ball over to the Texans. They have to produce, and they have to produce touchdowns, and then let it rest on your defense, which if you get a nice lead, I'll take this defense over any defense.
Yeah, you can make some things happen. The defense has been placed in a bad. That being said, there are still some things I want to see on that side of the ball too. I'm not happy with the play up front with your defense. Not that you expect them to do everything, but they got to keep the linebackers clean, and they've been getting blown up on a regular basis up front, and they gave up some rushing yards to Indianapolis. And this is a team, if Foster is halfway healthy, they've got I wouldn't call it a great offensive line, but a good offensive line, effective, and if they start running the football, it could be a long afternoon.
Yeah, could be. And now, Ziggy Hood started last week for Brett Kiesel. Probably going to be seeing a little more of him, I think, on a regular basis. Aaron Smith continues to. Boy, I really feel bad to say this about Aaron.
I feel bad too, yeah.
Because he's such a nice guy, but he continues to play like a 13-year vet, which he is. I mean, he's certainly no spring chicken. He's playing the back nine, the old golf analogy. But it's he either has to notch it up a little bit, get whatever you can out of him, or take a seat.
Well, it's unfortunate because he is one of the genuine nice guys in that locker room. I love talking to Aaron Smith, but there have just been some plays where, he's just been pushed off the line of scrimmage.
Making it too easy.
Just making it too easy. So, we'll see what happens. I'm liking the Steelers' chances, believe it or not, on the road. I do like. I think they're going to bounce back. The thing that was interesting is a lot of the Houston people are saying this is a perennial power that's coming in. This is a real measuring stick for this Houston football team.
Right.
So they're looking at it that way. So once again, the Steelers have a big target right in the center of their chest.
Okay. Are you going to put a score with that prediction, or?
I like the Steelers by a touchdown.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go the other way, because I remember the last big test that the Houston Oilers had. It was last year.
The Houston Texans.
What did I say?
He said the Oilers.
Wow.
The Oilers. That's really
slides back. Yeah.
Love you, blue.
Hey.
Yes.
Bum Phillips, not Wade. That would have been Bum.
That would have been Bum. Yes.
Anyway, the Houston Texans. The last really big challenge for them was opening day last year, not this year, when they played Peyton Manning and the Indy Colts, and they beat them up pretty good. I believe Arian Foster had a 3-touchdown day. Career day rushing, and that was a big game that they had marked on their calendar. It was opening day. They won that game and still didn't make the playoffs. Maybe they're ready to take on the rest of the AFC now. I look for Houston to come out smoking on all cylinders. I think they're going to stay with the Steelers the whole way, and I think the Houston Texans, let me get that right this time, the Houston Texans are going to pull it out in the fourth quarter.
You mean the Tennessee Titans? No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, it might be. It could very well turn out to be that way. I'm just looking, and maybe I'm thinking too much about a veteran ball club. I'm just looking for the Steelers to respond. They've been taking a lot of heat.
Yeah,
they've been taking a lot of heat.
Yeah, they are. It could come back to haunt them this week, though. Hey, here's to hoping I'm wrong, but I think Houston is a little too strong. Watch out for Andre Johnson. I think he's going to have a monster.
And my advice is watch, don't bet.
Yeah, exactly. One more note I want to make before we sign off. Connellsville native Terrence McRae had a workout with the Detroit Lions today. Potentially could be signing with them. We'll keep an eye on that.
Okay, let's hope he makes it.
That's right. And we will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.